Welcome back to another episode of the Vancouver Hockey Show. It's the Healthy Scratches, Jacob Fraser and Nic Hauka. Nick, how's it going?
It's going good, man. I mean, we're without our GM today, but we're still here in the press box. So, honestly, I feel like we've done enough now that we should be elevated to fourth liners. I
Yeah,
know that
fourth line
doesn't really,
plugs.
yeah, fourth line plugs, and I know that doesn't really suit either of our playing styles, but my player comp being Bobby Ryan and yours being Andre Kuzmenko, but especially not on an Adam Foote or Rick Talk at fourth line. But
Yeah, definitely.
anyway.
Well, let's dive right into it. The Canucks stay 7-7 here, 500, and I mean, let's just start back. The night after we recorded last episode was the big JT Miller versus Elias Pettersson matchup. Everybody was excited to see what would happen, and a bit of an underwhelming performance from both, and a bit of an underwhelming result for the Canucks. What did you make of the game?
Oh, it was just boring hockey. Everything was just trapped in the neutral zone. There wasn't a lot of good opportunities for either team. Very slow paced game. Really anticlimactic for what we were expecting, right? We're kind of expecting an all out war between those two. And I think Miller hit Pedersen once and knocked him off his feet, but it wasn't a very hard hit. And JT almost scored but missed an empty net. And just there wasn't a lot going on in that game. And you know what? I will admit I was wrong. They cheered JT Miller during the tribute. So I'll always admit when I'm wrong. And I was wrong on that one. I know I said they would boo him the whole game, but they probably got it right cheering him for the tribute. And then during the game, when he touched the puck, booing him the entire time. So I think Canucks fans got it right.
Yeah, I thought that was the right thing to do as well. Like you're not going to cheer for the guy when he touches the puck playing for another team, obviously, and then yeah, I mean, you've got to cheer the guy. There's a lot of great moments here. Obviously the playoff run that he was a part of, unfortunate lost the Oilers in game 7, but yeah, there were a lot of great memories that he made for a lot of Canucks fans, and so you cheer him during that tribute video, but the rest of the game, he's no longer Vancouver Canucks, so you can't be giving him those cheers. And then the next night they go on the road to St. Louis and they take down the Blues in a shootout. Um, Another Kiefer Sherwood hat trick there, leads the team with 9 goals. It's just been an incredible start to the season for Kiefer Sherwood.
Yeah, in our last episode, I was saying this isn't sustainable. This isn't gonna, and I still think that to a degree. But hey, he really showed me what a game by him. Um, yeah, he's just playing at a completely different level right now. I still wonder, can he play his game with more minutes, right? Because we again last year we saw that the intensity he plays with, it's hard to play in those top line minute situations when you're playing that kind of style, right? Where you're constantly hitting even in a regular season game and just kind of laying it all on the line at all times. So, but man, can he skate? Man, can he shoot? And he is so fun to watch. That is probably the best acquisition this regime has made.
Yeah, I let's talk about Kiefer Sherwood just for a little bit here. Because in the game against the Nashville Predators, he was elevated to that top line, or if you want to call it the top line, with Elias Pettersson and Evander Kane. Played over 21 minutes. No points, but he still had 4 shots on goal. I've got the stats here in front of me. 4 shots on goal, 5 hits. Um, yeah, I think it's a sustainable thing, but do you want him playing in your top 6 consistently? No, but when he's scoring the way that he is, even though he's doing it on such a high shooting percentage, that's been a big talking point for people. Um, I mean, you kind of have to give him a look, especially with how many
Yeah.
injuries this team has.
Well, yeah, 100%. And that's another thing we need to get into, just the ridiculous amount of injuries so early in this season. I can't remember the last time I've seen a professional team this early into their year be this riddled with injury. It's pretty crazy. This is the injury chart right now is something you would see halfway in round 2 of the playoffs, right? Um so yeah, You kind of have to elevate him at this point, and I know like he was at one point shooting 39%, which is just absurd, but yeah, why not give him a chance? And maybe he's one of those late bloomers that all of a sudden turns into a top six forward at like 29, 30 years old. Who knows? Maybe that would be wonderful, but I don't think it's going to happen. And yeah, in the Nashville game, yeah, he played pretty well. He had that breakaway where Pedersen fed him, and it was kind of a weird play where I forget who the defenseman was, but he kind of like lost his stick. It almost looked like he threw it a little bit and kind of threw Sherwood off, and he kind of bobbled the puck. So, like, yeah, he's still getting chances. So, as long as this team keeps being as injury riddled as they are, yeah, might as well give him a shot there.
Let's talk a bit more about the Nashville game because Quinn Hughes, we were mentioning all the injuries. He came back into the lineup in that Nashville game, and just I guess what did you make of his performance? To me, he looked pretty good, but just some of the frustration is starting to boil over for him, in my opinion.
Yeah, like, and I think he's pressing a little bit too much right now. I really think like he's trying to play hero hockey just all game long, and like there's obviously your moments as the best player on the team as he is where you need to do that, but it feels like he's doing it every single time he touches the puck. I feel like he's shooting a ton compared to what he used to, and he has a good shot now. He's really worked on that, but I really feel like his biggest strengths are feeding his teammates and being a one man machine on breakouts, right? So I would like to see him get back to that. But saying that, like, even if Quinn Hughes is playing at 40%, he's still better than like 90% of defensemen in this league, right? So even if he's playing and pressing a little bit too much, he's still so valuable to this team and is just clearly the best player on the ice for the Canucks every single night.
Yeah, I mean, people were talking a little bit. I think most of it was a joke, but people were saying, "Oh, is this team better without Quinn Hughes?" Because they were playing fairly well without him, but I think it's pretty obvious what he brings. You saw in overtime how much he played in overtime there in Nashville. Like no one else on this team can do that, and nobody else can create the opportunities that he can offensively from the back end. So definitely glad to have him back for the Canucks. And yeah, I just hopefully he can get into a bit more or get a bit more productive in the scoring aspect. I think he's only got what 7 points here on the season, which for a defenseman that's pretty good, but for Quinn Hughes standards, that's not exactly what you want. But speaking of another defenseman, Tom Willander, first career NHL point. I really have liked what I've seen from him in his first 4 games in the National Hockey League, and he might have earned a full-time spot on the team.
I think he should have that. Like he is from his pretty much his first shift, right? He has NHL skating skills, and I would say definitely above average skating skills. He's a really good skater, agile, fast, good puck movement skills. He has a really good brain in the offensive zone, and he's super aggressive because he has good speed and can get back. I really like his game. I think he should absolutely be in this rotation, even if the Canucks blue line is fully healthy. I see there's no reason to. I really like how he's been playing with DPD in the last couple of games. I really like that pairing actually. Yeah, like I don't know what you think about him, but I think he's just good enough in his defensive zone right now. Obviously, room to work, but the other things he brings to the game are so valuable already. He doesn't look out of place at all.
Yeah, I would agree. Like I see him I see the flashes of a future top 4 defenseman for the Canucks there. And he's, like you said, such a great skater. He's got a good mind for the game, high hockey IQ. He moves the puck well. He moves well with the puck in the offensive zone. But yeah, I think there is still some things that he needs to clean up in the defensive end. He's still not maybe a full NHL body yet. He maybe has to get a little bit stronger, but I mean, for the first 4 games of his career, I what I've seen has been really promising, especially like you take into consideration just the expectation that was put on him when the team signed him last year and maybe people being a bit underwhelmed by how fast he's been able to make that jump to the NHL level. But from what I've seen through the first 4 games, I feel very excited about the future of Tom Willander with the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, and like the other thing, like I feel like he already has NHL poise. I think that's one thing he 100% has. He's so confident with the puck, never looks bothered. Even in his first game, he looked super comfortable. And that's something you can obviously work on as a player. But as you know, the best ones have that from the get go in whatever situation they're in. So that's very encouraging to see.
Definitely. Let's shift over to the forwards here a little bit. Evander Kane scores his first two goals as a Vancouver Canuck. He obviously had that one in St. Louis called back because of goaltender interference, but yeah, a little bit of a weak call, but
Yeah, a little bit, but what are you gonna do?
I mean, finally gets two on the board that actually count, and then he takes a penalty that puts the Canucks into a little bit of trouble near the end of the third period. There, um, we've talked about him a little bit and just his style of play. He's lost a step and everything, but I mean that that first goal was just an absolute cannon of a shot. And it's good to see him get on the board finally, and hopefully he can build off of that a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. And as they were saying on the broadcast a couple games ago, like that was his first regular season goal for almost 2 years.
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean
like
he missed a lot
yeah,
of time last year.
yeah. But again, like because he's been injured so much and just playing in the playoffs for the most part, right? Like you have to get your legs back under you and get kind of accustomed to playing in a full NHL season, which he hasn't done for quite a few years, right? And he's a little bit older. So I wonder if his game will start coming back as the season goes along and he starts to get his legs back and kind of get used to the normal routine of an NHL season. So I've liked a lot of things he's done. Yeah, I think he's lost a step. He's not the player he used to be, and you're always going to have to live with what you just said. Like he's going to be in the penalty box quite a bit. That's kind of who he is, right? But he gives you that added bonus of that physicality and kind of almost that rat like mentality on the ice that all good teams need, especially in their bottom six, which I think is where he's better suited right now. I know he's been playing up because of injuries, but I think he's really good on that third line and maybe second line in a pinch.
Well, like you say, he's been playing up because of injuries. I mean, I don't know if it's because of injuries. I think this team has him penciled in all season long as a top six forward. I don't agree with it. Like you said, I think he's better suited in the bottom six as well. But I mean, even without the injuries, like who do you slot into a top six spot instead of Evander Kane?
Yeah, that's kind of difficult right now to say, right? There's been so many injuries on the wing. Like we all know that Hoglander works very well with Pedersen, but again, like he's probably not someone you want in your top six, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and like, do you want Hoglander on a line with Elias Pettersson and Connor Garland? Like,
Yeah,
it might be too small of a line.
that's true too. Yeah, you're right. It's almost, you know what? It's kind of like, remember we talked last year at the beginning of the year where we really like this forward group, but the defense core, oh, this is kind of shaky. I don't know if this is going to work. Remember, we were singing Eric Brandstrom's praise. Things were that bad for a long time. I'll never forget you, Eric. Favorite bottom pair defenseman of all time. But now it's kind of reversed. Now you kind of look at the D core and you go, I'm very comfortable with this. This is a good solid group. There's depth pieces that they can draw from, right? With Mancini, I know he's hurt right now, but etc. And now with the forward group, we go, oh, I don't like. There's guys that should be in the bottom six having to play up and like solidified into those roles, like Evander Kane, and it's almost like they've just kind of flipped. They like changed their problem from one to the other.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I personally was sick and tired of watching this team blow a ton of leads. I know they're still doing it, but I'm happy that they've fixed their decor and their goaltending tandem is really solid. I'm more okay with a forward problem because I feel like you can get a little bit of production here and there from guys that need to jump up in the lineup offensively rather than needing to rely on these bottom pairing guys to play bigger minutes.
Well, then you can play typical 2020s Canucks hockey, get outshot 2-1, and find a way to win with Thatcher Demko in net. So there you go. It's perfect. It's just like the Travis Green era Canucks.
Yeah, it's perfect. Let's talk about another forward. Jake DeBrusk. He's been he scored against Nashville as well, but another power play goal. He's got 3 power play goals on the year, all 3 of his goals. Um, I think just what 2 assists, I think it was. Let me pull that up. Yeah, 2 assists here for 5 points through 14 games. We talked about this last year too. Like through the first 9 games of the season, he hadn't scored a goal, and it was, oh no, did they make a mistake paying DeBrusk $5.75 million to bring him in free agency? And it's kind of the same story here. I know he's got the 3 goals, but all coming on the power play. He's just not making a big difference at 5-on-5 hockey. What does he need to do to realistically be worth the money that he's getting paid and be a productive player for the Vancouver Canucks?
He needs to not be a passenger, and I think that's been an issue with him since he's gotten here, right? When he tries to create by himself or off of passes or whatever, like he is able to do so, but it's so few and far between. He doesn't try to dictate play at all. He just kind of waits for it to come to him. And like he has the ideal body size to and skating ability for that matter to be first and on the forecheck, finish his checks, be physical, be a presence all game long. And you just don't see that from him, you know, on a consistent basis. He'll do it once every couple games. You go, wow, where has this, like, I know you can do this. You're a very talented player, but he doesn't show it off enough. Like it doesn't seem like he has the dog in him, as people like to say, right? And I think there's a lot of Canucks forwards with that issue, lots of skill, and they don't have kind of that Kiefer Sherwood mentality. Like if DeBrusque played like that, he would be so much more effective. And like especially knowing who his dad was as a player, I'm really surprised he doesn't have that and show that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like you said, he can't be a passenger, and where he's most effective, I find, is net front. And obviously that's great for the power play. He's a great net front guy on the power play. That's why he's got 3 power play goals to start the year, but he's got to find a way to get to those dirty areas during all times of the game. That's where he needs to live in the offensive zone. He's playing on a line right now with Lucas Reichel and Brock Besser. And Besser might not be the best playmaker, but he's still a pretty solid playmaker. And Lucas Reichel has the speed and the skill to be able to get in on the forecheck, win a battle, get the puck up front to Jake DeBrusk there. So yeah, I really think he just needs to live in the net front and really try to create chances off of tips and off of rebounds. That's how he scored his 28 goals last year. I can't think of many um, that were outside of the circles, really, other than that hat trick rip against the Detroit Red Wings that I remember in overtime. But yeah, I think he just needs to get to the dirtier areas, kind of like what you were saying.
Yeah, like yeah, I want to see more from him. I know he's capable of it. Like
Mhm.
let's show it every night. And speaking of Lucas Reichel, I've really liked his game.
Have you?
I think that's a pretty good acquisition for them. He's such a smooth skater. I feel like he's really close right now. Like there's been so many opportunities throughout games where like he's like a stick in the lane away from getting a really good shot on net that possibly had eyes. Like we don't know though because it got deflected. Like things of that nature. And there has been some opportunities where his finishing ability is very Ilya Mikheyev like, which you don't want to be compared to, but I think he's better than that. I think he's pre-surgery Mikheyev like rather than post. So I think he's close, and I think the more comfortable he gets, like I really like his game, especially in the offensive end.
We talked about him a bit last week, but let's talk about him a bit more because I mean, like I said, he's playing down the middle with Brock Besser and Jake DeBrusk right now. I said last week I prefer him as a winger. I think you said the same thing. But what have you seen from him? Like, do you think he's someone that can stick at the center spot for the Canucks?
Yeah, like I think I agree with you. Like I think he's probably a winger. Again, I would like to see more of a sample size because like it takes time for players to develop, right? And I think in pro sports in general right now, players are not given enough time to fully develop, right? Like he really got like that 19 game stretch with the Blackhawks and then kind of was in and out of the lineup and was a winger for the most part after that. So I think especially with the makeup of this team right now, why not give him at least half the season, right? Like what else are you going to do? You don't really have a lot of other options. Like Max Hassan as your second line center is not what anyone wants to see right now. I like him in the bottom six. He's a great skater. He can get into dirty areas and do things of that nature, but like you don't want to see him on the second line. I think Reichel has a skill set for the second line, perhaps as you said, better suited to be a winger eventually as he develops. But I would like to see him give it a try, and preferably if Philip Hedl comes back anytime soon on the third line, not the second line. But
Yeah, I mean, he could even like I could see him slotting into a line with Pedersen on in the top six, playing on the wing, like we were talking about who slides in if you drop down Evander Kane to the bottom six. Maybe that's where a guy like Lucas Reichel can come in and provide some offense and some speed to align with Elias Pettersson. But yeah, I mean, I like what I've seen, but yeah, I think he's a winger for the most part. But let's talk about Drew O'Connor a little bit because he scored the 2 goals in Minnesota. We haven't touched on that Minnesota game. I mean, who really wants to? It wasn't a very fun event, but O'Connor finally puts away his first 2 goals of the season. People were talking about him maybe being a guy that the Canucks need to move off of that contract once again. They seem to do that every single year. There's one guy that underperforms it and they just move off of him right away. The Alvin regime has been very proactive in that, but um, I feel like this past 3-game road trip, O'Connor has actually looked really solid.
I really like how he's playing. And before I get to that, you know why they lost the Minnesota game? Because they outshot them. They weren't playing Canucks hockey. They didn't get outshot 2-1 and rely on their goaltender to stand on his head. They got out of structure. But in all seriousness, yeah, like I really like him on the third line. I think he's a legit third liner that good teams could have in that role. He's big. He's able to be physical when he is. He's a very effective player. He's also a good skater and has solid finishing ability, not quite Sherwood like, but a couple steps below that. But he's capable of putting in a couple, right? He can probably be a 10, 15 goal guy, right? So, yeah, like I like him in that role. I especially, if this team could start to get some guys back and maybe make a couple of pickups, imagine having him and Sherwood on the third line go like firing on all cylinders. Like that's a physical, gritty line that would be very, very effective. I have very much liked his game in the last 3 or 4.
Yeah, I think he's taken a good step, and he's looking like maybe a third line guy, like you said, but definitely a full-time NHLer, not a guy that you have to dump a contract when it's only 2.5 million as well. But let's talk about a little bit ahead here. They've got 3 games coming up before we'll record next, and Connor Garland should be back either on the Wednesday game against Chicago, but if not, he should be back Saturday and Sunday against the Blue Jackets and the Avalanche. What do you expect from Connor Garland on his return?
I mean, hopefully, I think most Canucks fans would hope that he picks up where he left off. This is the best I think he's looked in his career. Um, Super confident with the puck as he always is, but he's been able to kind of take that extra step and create on his own and looked like the Canucks' best forward for a couple games there. So I think you'd really hope he can get back to that and kind of solidify himself back in that top 6. I liked him with Pettersson quite a bit because I think he can do the gritty things despite his size to kind of open space for Pettersson and his great playmaking ability behind the net. So I expect him probably to get back to somewhere around there, even though he's nursing an injury. You know, his motor never stops. So I think that is kind of the level that you would want him to get back to.
Yeah, I'm hoping that he can jump right back into that Pettersson line. And, he's not necessarily going to look like he hasn't missed a single game, but hopefully he can provide some offense. We haven't talked about Pettersson much, but, the last few games he hasn't been super productive offensively. He went pointless in the Rangers, Blues, Wild, that 3-game stretch. But then he has a 2-point night last night in Nashville. Obviously, the assist on the Besser OT winner, and then what I thought was a beautiful pass on DeBrusk's power play goal over to Besser. Just, it's been kind of up and down with him this year. He looked like, oh, maybe he's coming back. We talked about that a little bit. And then it was another disappointing stretch here.
Yeah, like fool me 4 times.
It's
PD, fool
not
me
just
4 times.
four
But
this time.
it's like, but I like what I have liked is his playmaking ability. The last couple games has really stood out to me. As you said, that pass was beautiful, and I think he's doing that quite well. I also think that some of his bad habits are starting to come back, especially in that Nashville game. There are quite a few times when he had the puck in the neutral zone where his feet completely stopped. That was not as big of a thing early in the year, and I was very glad to see that from him because he's so much more effective as any player is when they keep their feet moving and gain momentum through the neutral zone. He seems to be doing that again, so I hopefully the Canucks coaching staff can nip that in the butt right away because that was a huge issue with him last year, and I know he had some injury concerns in his lower body, right? So maybe that was something to do with it, but he can't get back to playing that way. He needs to use his speed through the neutral zone, dictate pace, then use his playmaking ability and shot from there. He needs to not get his feet stuck in cement and just completely stop his momentum. And I really hope that doesn't continue.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah, the playmakings look good. I'd like to see him shoot the puck more still. He had 0 shots last night, and I I think he maybe is averaging 1 a game, maybe a little bit over 1 a game. That's not enough for Elias Pettersson. He's got to be shooting the puck 3 or 4 times a game on net. So, yeah, I mean, I always like to play the optimist with him, and Andrew's not here, so I won't get tripped too much about it. But yeah, just he needs to be better, and we've said it 100 times. He needs to be consistently better, and so hopefully he can get back to that in these next 3 games here. We talked about it a little bit. The Chicago Blackhawks on Wednesday, and then the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Colorado Avalanche in a back-to-back at home on Saturday and Sunday. What do you expect from the Canucks with these 3 upcoming games? Obviously, the Blackhawks and the Blue Jackets are 2 very winnable games for this team, and then the Colorado Avalanche is a little bit more difficult, but especially on a back-to-back. But I mean, what would be an ideal? How many points would be an ideal pickup for the team this upcoming games?
Say 3 to 4. I think 3 to 4 is good. I like again, it's so hard to judge this team right now because they're so injured. They haven't had their full group, and you don't really know what you're going to see on any given night. It's really hard to judge them right now. Obviously, if Garland's back, that is going to give them a huge boost, like we just said. I'd say 3 to 4 would be pretty sufficient. And I'm excited to watch them play Connor Bedard because he's been really good this season.
Yeah, Connor Bedard back in town. Frank Nazar as well. They've got some dangerous forwards there in Chicago now. So it's not a guaranteed win, especially with how banged up this team is. But I agree. I think I'm setting the expectation at 4 points because I think this team needs to get above 500 here, and they got the easier matchup on the front end of the back-to-back too. Like you'd rather play Columbus first than the Avs because then you're just obviously a little bit gassed from playing the Avs the night before. So I'm setting it at go 2-1 these next 3 games, and hopefully you can come out of this by next week with a above 500 record. Yeah, I guess that wraps it up. So thank you for listening to the Vancouver Hockey Show. For Nic Hauka, I'm Jake Fraser. Thank you.